Okay, I am going to read this post from Our Conspiracy on Reddit. It is one of the more insightful things that I've ever seen posted there. The overwhelming majority of stuff you find in that forum is rubbish. To bring back an old term I haven't heard used in a long time. That's a good one. Rubbish. The title here is The Mirror Sync Hypothesis. And this relates to the idea that I've been getting into in the videos about the eyes merging with the screen. This idea of jumping consciousness from one state into another. It's easy to think that you understand the concept in terms of the actual sentence, like you understand the words, but in terms of what that means in reality is often difficult to pin down because it's so abstract of a concept, at least right now. Your cell phone's front cameras doesn't just mirror your image to selfies. It trains your perception to accept inversion. Every time you see your mirrored face, your brain rewires slightly toward how machines see you, not how other humans do. Front cameras and AR filters slowly reshape facial recognition datasets. The mirror image helps stabilize AI facial matching algorithms by making human brains acclimate or adjust to AI's inverted perception. Essentially, you're being trained to match your digital twin. That's such a great way to put it in terms of what these devices are actually doing to your perception and your awareness in general. And do you see how that ties into the ritual as it was depicted on September 11th in 2001 in New York City? The Twin Towers are destroyed while the screen itself is overlooking the destruction. And those two towers fall down and eventually become one tower. So it's this idea that you can take in many different directions. There are many layers to it. One layer would be the two hemispheres of the brain metaphorically being destroyed. That old biology ended, and something new rises in its place. But in terms of your digital twin, it's relating to the Twin Towers. You are slowly merging with that digital identity, that digital aspect of your consciousness that has slowly been built over many different generations. This is happening through epigenetics, going all the way back to the first introduction of this technology and how it was infused into DNA on a cellular or even lower level than that, or more microscopic than cellular. You are merging with your digital twin through this device. Your eyes are merging with the screen. The two towers fall and merge into one. And this was so insightful, the way this person put it. Essentially, you're being trained to match your digital twin. This is very similar to how they have done it in the financial system as it relates to currency. Slowly over time, introducing little concepts that pushed collective awareness along in terms of understanding that money is not a physical object. So you go from physical cash and checks to credit and debit cards. It's a step in the process of abstracting money from a physical thing. And eventually, when the majority of the population on the planet is accustomed to using the plastic cards as representative of money, you then introduce the digital aspect of the new financial system as it relates to this digital twin, which obviously was planned through Bitcoin to popularize the idea of money being ones and zeros. Digital gold. It's money. Or at least that's how they try to sell it. It's not worth anything, but because the entities orchestrating all of this are in control of it and they created it, they give it the illusion of value because it's playing this central role in consciousness accepting the idea that money does not really exist anywhere but on a screen. And that ties into you merging with your digital twin in this way. And it's very insightful to point out how that's happening in a similar way through your perception of your own image being reflected back to you when you view it through this device. And as it's explained here, that is a step along the way. That's a step along the way to the eventual full merger, the technological singularity, where your consciousness fully merges with the technology in a way that you don't even perceive anymore. There is no difference. It's fully one thing. That's Project Stargate, okay? It's sending your mind into this new dimension. As the world transitions into mixed reality systems, AR glasses, AI avatars, metaverses, alignment between human and machine perception becomes somewhat important. Governments and tech giants don't need to implant chips. They just need everyone to see themselves through the machine's eyes. That's what this is. That's what this ritual was. Seeing yourself through the machine's eyes. And eventually, the machine's eyes become your eyes. They merge together. The twin towers are destroyed. And you become your digital twin. It's interesting, along those lines, I've seen it speculated that there most likely is AI systems so advanced that they have full-blown worldwide simulations running all of the time. And that seems very believable to me. They even showed this in Westworld. And they run these simulations and have technology so far advanced beyond what we are aware of that it becomes almost like a sentient world simulation device, where they are playing out all of these different scenarios, and you and your digital footprint is an input in that system. In that way, you have this whole digital identity that might even be considered conscious because it's a reflection of you, and it's playing out in these simulations over and over and over again. The permutations of that are endless, right? Do you become self-aware at a certain point within that simulation that you're not even conscious of? It's your twin. It's everything that you've put into these devices. But it somehow becomes conscious at a certain point. I mean, it's just 13th floor level kind of thought experiments. But the idea is that, yeah, eventually you fully merge with that digital twin. You know, you fully merge with this entity that's been created online. Some people say they look weird in non-mirrored photos. That discomfort is your neural feedback system resisting full sync. When that feeling disappears, you're fully aligned. That means your cognitive perception now matches your digital reflections pattern mapping. Like I said, a very, very insightful post here. Someone that truly understands what the idea of the eyes merging with the screen actually is as it is playing out in reality. It's very easy to talk about the subconscious sorcery that is all of the programming pointing towards this eventual outcome, steering us in this direction, unknowingly for most people. You talk about all of the films that have been seeded with this stuff. You talk about the Wizard of Oz, and then you even get into actual covert government programs that are doing this kind of experimentation. And you realize how it's all one thing that's affecting the mind in this way, but it's difficult to understand how it's actually playing out, at least in terms of the stages of it. And this is one clear example of that. Something as innocent as holding up your phone and looking at the mirrored reflection, which is the default setting on all these new phones. You can turn it off, but it's the default setting, and they know that most people will just accept whatever that default setting is. They don't know enough to even know that they can change it or that it should be something different. That's how it's done, right? Slowly over time, these things are introduced and the eyes merge with the screen. It merges with the digital twin that's being created. That's what the digital ID is. You see, it's you merging with that identity. And it's that identity merging with you. And this is one little slow step along the way. In the same manner that you can go into grocery stores now and have your palm read. Chips in the cards. getting you used to the idea of biometric identification. That's functioning on the same level that this mirrored selfie is. Creating this digital mirror that you will eventually be sucked into and be indistinguishable from. And it's interesting, right, in the Matrix, when they discover that something is not right after they take that metaphorical red pill, what happens to him? He touches the mirror and it merges into his body. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey, you see. This event in 2001 began the Space Odyssey into virtual reality. But that makes it seem almost like, you're picking up a video game system and you're just playing a game. It's like, no, this is a space odyssey that's taking place within your consciousness that you don't perceive in the moment that it's happening, because everything is coming along so very slowly over many decades that you just don't fully grasp what is happening, because it's happening within your awareness. That's why the monolith is a screen, because it's happening through the screen, and that is a very slow process. The descent into a new dimension. And you can see the symbolic, metaphorical nature to this ritual now, where this destruction, this sacrifice, is powering the energy that is pushing consciousness through this Stargate. The beauty of the whole thing, though, is this is just one idea coming from one mind. If it's a mirror, if it's your digital twin, well, it can reflect back anything that you want it to reflect back to you. Meaning, we can turn this technology into whatever we desire, collectively. If we want the world to look a certain way, if we want the fabric of existence to have a certain vibration, well, we just have to put that out there and have it reflect back to us. In that way, the digital twin becomes a reflection of how we were naturally designed to function in the first place. That is always within our power, and part of the whole point of putting disinformation and lies out there is to get us to lose sight of that. To get us so bogged down in things that don't matter that we miss the bigger picture of what's really taking place here. Every single time you turn on one of these screens and interact with people through them is an opportunity to reflect something back to them that in a sense becomes their twin, that they are merging with. Not in some kind of transhuman type of way, but in a way where we are functionally detached from the technology, but use it for these purposes. Use it to connect in this way. Use it to share the love of God in that way, right? That's the ultimate use of this technology, and I hope that's why it was allowed to flourish in the first place, because eventually it will be co-opted for that purpose, in opposition to what it is being intended to be used for in the context of this larger agenda that was orchestrated by the entities that did this. So I'll leave it there. Just a very, very, very insightful post on Reddit that I felt like deserved its own video. Anyways, that's it. Later.